Billy Corgan bought the NWA. He also opened up a tea house over in Chicago, where he's from. So yeah, from coffee house to tea house. And women's wrestling in the NWA is hot. They're getting into NWA 75th anniversary show, which is a 2-day pay-per-view, the last weekend of August. Kamille, their women's champion, just surpassed 800 days. And her catchphrase is that she's the one-time champ because nobody's going to be able to take it from her. And so far, that's been it. She's a legitimately good college athlete in her day, moved into pro wrestling, was paired with Nick Aldis for a while. There is some great women's wrestling going on in AEW and in the still standing and still going, and perhaps on the ascension again, National Wrestling Alliance, the NWA.
Is Billy Corgan still a part of that, or
he is still owning it, running it, booking it?
Wow.
Touring and talking about it. In fact, he gave 2 interviews, one on Sports Guy Talking Wrestling this week, and another one with Chris Van Vliet, where he was talking up NWA 75. And big news in each one, Tyrus, who WWE fans may remember as Brodus Clay. What was it, like the Funkasaurus for a while? He's a former Slammy Award winner as best dancer in the WWE.
Yeah.
So Tyrus, real big guy, almost a 400-pounder, 6'7", former bodyguard to Snoop Dogg. So he's been an actor, and he's been in wrestling for a while, but he's another one of these guys who has other things he can do outside of wrestling. He seems to have been on a good NWA run. He's their champion currently, but he's up there in age. He's 50 years old as well. We talked about Edge being 50. He's 50 years old. He's got a big match coming up against EC3 at NWA 75. And the rumor is, could this be Tyrus's last match if he loses? Could that be part of the draw for NWA 75? What do you remember about Tyrus, either as Tyrus or as Brodus Clay in the WWE?
Full transparency, nothing. I wasn't watching then.
Okay.
So
I remember nothing about him as Brodus Clay either.
I know he's a guy that was there, and I remember he did like a shoot interview and talked about how John Cena helped him because they were going to cut his segment, and it was only supposed to be like a couple minutes for WrestleMania. Okay. And Cena said, "You know what? Why don't let him do his segment because I have to go to the bathroom, and then we can cut ours a little short." And that's what he told Vince. So they went to do the segment, but he didn't have to go to the bathroom. He just wanted him to get his WrestleMania moment. So
well, that's a good story to hear. I like that.
Yeah,
I like hearing that about Cena, and that he was looking out for a guy that he saw something in. Yeah, Tyrus, he's obviously not going to put on one of those high-flying matches. I mean, not just for his age, but he's 6'7", he's nearly 400 pounds. He's a power wrestler. He's not going to fool you with aerial stunts. He's a big power wrestler. He's apparently had a pretty good NWA run. There was some controversy. Billy Corgan at one point was talking about people not liking Tyrus because Tyrus has a life outside of wrestling, and they didn't think he should be the NWA champion. And Billy Corgan said something that was an unfortunate way he phrased it. It was in a long conversation. And of course, the quote that got snipped was, "If you don't like Tyrus as champion, then you're not a wrestling fan," or something like that. And what he was saying is if you're not watching the NWA because you don't like that Tyrus has a personal story and a career outside of wrestling, then you're not really a wrestling fan. Like if that's enough for you to turn off a wrestling program where a guy's performing pretty well, then hey, maybe you're not really into wrestling. But
right,
Tyrus, what do you think about NWA 75? It's been around 75 years. Have you gotten into the NWA since Billy Corgan has bought it?
The only time I've really watched the NWA is when they had Power Hour on YouTube. Do you remember that?
I do. That was taken off in late 2019, early 2020, right before the pandemic.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool, and I watched some of it, but I didn't really get too deep into it. I know people that were... Fran, I think, really liked it and watched it.
We have some wrestling friends who watched it as well. Okay. Now, Cody Rhodes versus Nick Aldis. When Cody left the WWE, the first real major program he was in here in the United States was Chasing the 10 Pounds of Gold. And there was a lot of Billy Corgan in that, his eye for artistry and performance, and making all those videos really promoting the 10 pounds of gold, the big gold belt, the NWA world title, and that big program with him. So the NWA belt has, when it involves people who are willing to commit to a program to it, it's been a great thing, even though we don't hear about it much the last 20-25 years. It's been for a while. It was in WCW before WCW split off with their own series of belts. For a while, TNA was running NWA belts until TNA split off with their own belts. Adam Pearce, current GM for WWE, is a former 5-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion. And by the way, Adam Pearce looks like he can still go. And he's not that old either. He's not too old to kick some people's rear ends around there. Tell us in the comments, tell us in the chat, what do you know about the NWA? We don't cover the NWA a lot here on Don't Bury the Lead. What do you know about the NWA? Is this a big deal? Are you excited at all for any of their programming, especially with their biggest program of the year coming up in about another week and a day?